This is Chelsea Adams. This is my presentation on my governance article. The article I chose was an article about ethics violations and how they were being addressed in the upper levels of the military. If you'll recall, there were several scandals last year, most notably David Petraeus and his affair with somebody related to the military or a staffer. There have also been some recent military scandals coming up that involve affairs and possibly revealing of classified information. Anywho, this article talks specifically about the Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey, and how they were going to address these ethics violations at the uppermost levels and hold people accountable. And while I do know that the military does have a code of conduct that they expect their servicemen and women to follow by, I think that holding people accountable to that has fallen by the wayside, especially at those upper levels. I think that General Dempsey and Leon Panetta were very receptive to the public relations crisis they were going to have as the military was sort of stripped of its reputation. And in response, General Dempsey sent out a stern warning to these upper levels, saying that he was going to create a ethics panel to be manned by notable and respected retired generals and admirals, as well as academics who were going to scrutinize the military for their ethical behavior and enforce possible repercussions. He also roped in lawyers and chaplains, he said, to sort of overlook the military and make sure that there's proper ethics training going on, making sure people know what is and isn't correct. So how does this apply to governance? Well, I addressed this a little bit in my PowerPoint here. So one of the things that I said was that good governance, some of the tenets of good governance is that they follow the rule of law, allow for transparency, define expectations, and are consensus oriented and responsive to society. And how this article relates, you might think, well, how does this article relate at all? Well, first and foremost, the rule of law. So even though, as I addressed in the PowerPoint, we could go back and forth on what is and isn't illegal in terms of an extramarital affair or whatever, the point is that Dempsey said that, hey, look, we need to set some ethical standards. That's why he actually came up with this ethics board, saying, let's sort of scrap what we have, but I'm going to tell you what the standards are, and you are going to follow them. This is the new law. Allowing for transparency. While a lot of transparency doesn't really go on with the military for obvious reasons, classified things, secret things, he did say that this panel was there to sort of scrutinize and report ethics violations, and that no stone would be uncovered. Define expectations. Like I said earlier, he said, look, we're going to enforce these code of conduct, this set of expectations for our ethics. These are your expectations. You know what you can and cannot do, and please follow them. And then in terms of consensus oriented or responsive, I think, like I said earlier, he sensed a public relations crisis on the forefront. These military officials in these higher levels are supposed to set the ethical example, and when they fail to do so, it is a reflection of society, it's a reflection of our nation, and I think he needed to rein in these upper levels of the military. He even states that in the article, a lot of these high-level officials often take these very high, costly risks and engage in these sort of risk-taking behaviors on a professional level but on a personal level, that just can't happen. So he acknowledges that there's a lot of stress, that there's a lot that goes on in these upper levels. However, they still have to be held to a higher ethical standard. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching. I hope this uploads correctly, and have a lovely week.